So ladies, gentlemen, welcome to a brand new news roundup. Today we're getting into all kinds of things from rumored test screenings for Joker 2, giving some very interesting details, impressions. Of course, we've got some DCU updates to go over as always. Some teasers from Jennifer Holland, James Gunn's wife. Fairly ambiguous teasers, but we'll get into that. Superman Legacy and other things. As always, guys, this video is timestamped, but as I was about to make this video, the trailer for the Star Wars show, The Acolyte, released. Now, I've always had a little bit of like, okay, you know, I'm looking forward to The Acolyte, I guess, but at the same time, I'm one of those guys who's just like, can we just go way back into the past? Now, I know James Mangold is kind of looking at this Dawn of the Jedi thing, and if you want to know what I mean by all of this, I want Knights of the Old Republic, something to do with that. I will die on that hill. Now, the Acolyte, as we know, is approximately set 100 years before the Phantom Menace. Now, with this trailer here, I will say it looks pretty cool. I think the money shot is for sure at the end, as you're seeing on screen here. That red lightsaber just swings in, you know, cutting through these trees, and all these Jedi are just like, oh, what's that? It's the unknown. This is a time during the High Republic, right? So Jedi haven't really had to face Sith for quite a long time. In fact, it's probably just like a bedtime story that they know about. Maybe they keep the peace in other ways. Maybe there's a bounty hunter here or there, or just something going on. But a Sith, or some kind of dark force user, that is terrifying to them. So they see a red lightsaber fly out of absolutely nowhere, and you get that kind of Old Republic MMO cinematic trailer as you're seeing on screen moment. Obviously not as dramatic as that, but that's what everybody is going to compare it to when they all ignite their lightsabers. And what I have to admit here is it's pretty damn cool with all of these, you know, what I guess I would say is newbie Jedi igniting their lightsabers, about to like go in like and then it's like there's this eruption of a force push that sends them all flying back by whatever this dark side force user is. Now, I love Carrie-Anne Moss in the trailer. It just feels, I'm gonna say it, basically Trinity as a Jedi. She looks badass. Now, the synopsis that we got very, very recently is as follows. In The Acolyte, an investigation into a shocking crime spree pits a respected Jedi Master, Lee Jung-jae, against a dangerous warrior from his past. As more clues emerge, they travel down a dark path where sinister forces reveal all is not what it seems. Obviously, in the trailer, Jedi are getting killed one by one. Initially, the Jedi Master, at least as it's saying here, but played by Lee Jung-jae, investigates, and it turns him onto that dangerous warrior from his past, so I don't know if he initially thinks it's this person. I'm also wondering, how is the dark side emerging? Did somebody stumble across like an ancient Sith holocron and they're like, yeah, let's go and let's just start killing Jedi? I don't know. I will say it has got me intrigued. It's got me intrigued. The thing is, I feel like, I don't know if it's like the unpopular opinion, but I do feel like these days a lot of people, like take Andor for example, I do think it is the most competent writing and probably best writing we've had in a Star Wars project for the longest time. Now, that's not me saying, don't misconstrue this in terms of, like, for example, I may find The Mandalorian more entertaining, if you know what I mean, but I don't find the writing to be as well written, if you will, if you want to get a bit, you know, nitpicky about it, as what Andor's is. So I really do love Andor, and what I mean by the unpopular opinion is a lot of people do actually want the swoosh, swoosh, force lightning, you know, swoosh, swoosh with the lightsaber, force grip, force powers, to make something feel Star Wars. That was one of the criticisms, right? But for me, I feel like I know better than just seeing that in this trailer, which, don't get me wrong, it is eye candy. A lot of Star Wars fans want that in their Star Wars series, but I also need decent writing. So if this looks like that, paired with decent writing, paired with a tale about darkness emerging, you know, 80 to 100 years before the Phantom Menace, which makes sense because darkness does inevitably arise with Palpatine and Darth Plagueis and so on and so forth, we could be seeing the very beginnings of that darkness starting to creep in. I'm very intrigued if this person is the Acolyte, but who is the Master, and when is Palpatine? Like, did this person go on to technically I don't know. I just want to know how Plagueis and Palpatine eventually fit in. I think Darth Plagueis, all while, you know, canon is a bit hazy here and there, but he was around 100, 115, if you will. So I suppose if this is 80 to 100 years beforehand, the theory of, I guess, what I was floating around with there is, you know, Plagueis might only be a 20-year-old something around there at this point in time. Or if it's set 100 years before the Phantom Menace, then he's only just about to be born. So the theory being, whoever the Acolyte is, whoever the master of that Acolyte is in this series, whoever is killing these Jedi, there's a bit of rule of two, don't forget, so there's probably two of them at least. Or maybe they go on to pass this emerging darkness onto Darth Plagueis, who will in turn pass it on to Palpatine, and then so on and so forth, Anakin Skywalker. Well, technically Maul before that, and a few other dark side Force users, but you get the gist. Now moving into DC, specifically here, before we move into Joker 2, and again, can't wait to get your thoughts about that one, but the DCU, there was a little bit of a rumor on the weekend. I was thinking, oh god, but I'm kind of busy this weekend. Please don't let this be true, even though I kind of wanted it to be true, but selfishly, I was like, can't it wait till Monday? There was a rumor going around about the Superman suit basically being revealed around, was it Saturday or Sunday? So eventually, this kind of got debunked because, somebody contacted James Gunn on Threads about it, saying, James, do you have any announcements today or over the next few days? And he's like, no. So I was like, oh, okay, good. kind of. Like, trust me, I would have wanted to see the suit. But again, I want to cover it kind of not 2 days later. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that I'm still hopefully going to be here when it drops. Plus, I was thinking, with what I covered recently in my News Roundup video about, okay, when could we see the Superman suit? Natalie Safran, Pete Safran's wife, teased on Instagram that it would be in a bit, like soon, but like, in a bit. So I thought, okay, let's look at the filming dates of when we could see it. And it doesn't seem like it will be for at least a little while. But then I kind of adjusted my stance a little bit because we got the set photos of Maria Gabriela de Farias, the engineer, and we covered that in the previous News Roundup. Please go check that out if you haven't seen it already. So I was thinking, damn, is the Superman suit potentially going to be seen? But I don't know. Again, they can do lots of different types of filming with David Corenswet behind closed doors, while also doing other shoots like Maria Gabriela de Farias, the engineer, out there, because obviously that's not the be-all and end-all. It's not like the Superman suit. So maybe James is kind of like, okay, if the paparazzi want to get a shot of that, then fair enough. And, what's adding to this even more, ladies and gentlemen, is this user saying, this is torture, James. Why are you not revealing the full Superman suit, crying face? And he quite simply says, because the movie doesn't come out for over a year. So there you have it. I mean, that doesn't technically mean that it's not going to come out next week somehow, but this is leaning me more into my original speculation from a couple of videos back, in where it feels like when they get a bit more into the Ohio filming dates, somewhere around June to July could be where it happens, which may sound like quite a while away for some of you guys, but the thing is, you never know. They could honestly be maintaining the, soundstage kind of filming with David Corenswet for quite a while yet. Now, in other DCU news from Jennifer Holland, James Gunn's wife, so she knows. Like, she probably knows God knows how many things. So, this user here on Instagram, I believe, or maybe it was Threads, I can't really tell. Jennifer, we want the timeline of the new DCU, please. And she actually replied a couple of things, which, funnily enough, we knew that Peacemaker would be filming this summer, but she kind of gave it away. So, okay, let's try and break this down. It's going to be kind of hard. Okay, so March 2024, awesome shit. Okay, could be anything, right? April 2024, fire. Okay. The awesome stuff could be Maria Gabriela de Farias, the engineer, and stuff that we don't even know about behind the scenes. April could be speaking to her knowing about, to be fair, this is the DCU timeline, so I was going to say, we know we're getting the Joker 2 trailer. Todd Phillips confirmed that is releasing in April, but that's not DCU. So April fire, I don't know. Again, I need to be serious. I can't possibly break this down, other than really the June 2024 one, which is the merman emoji, which if you're a Peacemaker viewer, you know that is absolutely 1000% a reference to Peacemaker, which is most likely meaning that they are kicking off filming in June of 2024. If you didn't know already, Vigilante, a character in Peacemaker, uses that merman emoji. So yeah, probably that. And after all, Jennifer Holland plays Harcourt in Peacemaker, so she knows that we know what that means. And then July, secret stuff, that's also fire. August 2024, filming stuff with people who wear costumes and kick major ass. Again, basically like everything else that's just been shared. That's all I can share for now. So really the only takeaway is probably, Peacemaker in June 2024. If you have any random ass speculation to add to the other months' teasers there, go ahead. I don't know if you can read her mind, though. Now, in DCU Batman, The Brave and the Bold, news, if you will, the story just continues on, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to, is Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti still going to handle DCU Batman, or have they been secretly fired? We kind of had a mini little update to this, but then the conversation got brought up again, because the Hollywood Reporter came out of this article saying it duo Andy and Barbara Muschietti Skydance launch horror label Nocturna. But then it also goes on to say they're expanding the franchise with a prequel series titled Welcome to Derry for Max, while they are developing a Batman movie called The Brave and the Bold at DC Studios. The duo have not yet committed to their next feature. Now, I don't think, like, as you can imagine, lots of people take that or misconstrue it into 1,000 different meanings. Now, I'm not trying to confirm one thing or another here, but from my takeaway, when the article writer says, while they're developing this Batman movie at DC Studios, the duo haven't really committed to their next feature, I don't read it as they haven't committed to Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Like, they're not fully attached to because that's what I keep seeing. It's like some people are saying, they're saying Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti aren't attached to the project anymore as much as they once were. All this stokes the flames of the speculation of how they might be fired and really they're going to find somebody else after the way The Flash performed. No, it just means that they're not committed to their next feature, as in, like, they don't really know what their next project is going to be right this very second, because, like, have they got a writer for The Brave and the Bold? Probably, maybe. I think Gunn's teased that a lot of projects do have writers, it's just that they're not all known. The script might not even nearly be being close to done, so as a result, like, even if it was, that doesn't mean it gets shot right now. Like, The Brave and the Bold might not come out until late 2026, similar to the Batman Part 2, or even 2027. Maybe it might come out earlier, I don't know, I can't confirm that, but the point is, would that be, committing to that feature right now? No, because you might tackle another project before that. But the future is technically never written in stone, so I am not saying right now, just in case 2 years from now, like, all of a sudden there is Andy Muschietti exits The Brave and the Bold due to creative differences kind of thing. I'm just saying I wouldn't read this like what some people are as of right now. I don't think it means that. Now, diving into Joker 2. Now, I do want to say, take this with a grain of salt, but we're getting some test screening reactions being circled around pretty much everywhere. The reason why I'm like, okay, I want to entertain this is because Joker 2, don't forget, started filming a long time ago, and it finished filming in April of 2023. It still, funnily enough, feels like yesterday to me. But I remember saying at the time, it's insane how much post-production this movie has. Not that it really needs it. They probably just wanted to commit to that October release date, knowing that they probably wouldn't be ready for the October 2023 release date. But the fact remains, the post-production on Joker that they could take advantage of is the rest of, like, from April 2023, all the rest of that year, and then all the rest of, like, the entirety of this year until October. So well over a year and beyond to just do post-production. So at this point, as we know, test screenings are a part of the process of, like, figuring out how an audience reacts to a film and seeing if you might want to make a change and seeing how they react to this, or we might do that. So I do want to, even though take this with a grain of salt, say that it does kind of fit about, okay, maybe I would believe that test screenings are going on right now, comes from Gold Derby, which I believe is like this outlet in which, provides Hollywood news and this, that, and the other. And this really, if, we hypothetically assume, for argument's sake, that this is true, I'm like, oh, damn, okay. And again, it matches up with, like, the vibes of when test screenings would be happening in my mind. So parts are chaotic for a reason, parts are surrealistic also for a reason, and at least in parts shot in black and white. I actually tend to believe that, by the way, especially given that, God knows what this movie's going to get into psychologically, Folie à Deux, Shared Madness, the fact that we know Judy Garland's music is in it, very Charlie Chaplin as well. So yeah, I would believe that for sure. Parts are bloody, the chaotic part. As I've said before, I think this could set the precedent for, like, arguably one of the darkest musicals, if you still want to truly attach the label musical to this film, we've ever had. I think you know, for example, when we had that moment when Arthur slammed that guy's head against the wall many, many times, and then there's the Murray Franklin talk show, I don't think Joker 2 is going to depart from that at all. I think this could go Bonnie and Clyde levels of messed up with what I just gave an example of from the first film in mind. Can't spoil how exactly. Fair enough, I don't really want to know. It's also very political, as you would expect from the Joker franchise. Yeah, there was obviously quite a bit of political undertones with the first movie. Lots of press coming out about that. Apparently the first film would turn you into an incel if you watched it or something like that. I wonder what all the outlets are gonna say about the second movie. The person I spoke with was mighty impressed, but caution, it's just one opinion. Absolutely, different strokes for different folks. Gaga is indeed equal to Phoenix, or even more central. No way to fraud her in supporting. From what I understood, he doesn't call her Harley, but a nickname derived from it, and that would be Lee. I know that for a fact because during filming, there's a press video of hearing Joaquin Phoenix literally shout out and exclaim, Lee, you know, just for short. She's still called Harleen Quinzel. It's just he calls her Lee for short. That's it. I guess that has created a confusion whether she plays Harley or not. She does. Yep, she does. They both perform songs as a duo, I'm guessing, and some are just her singing. Songs are a mix of old ones and new ones, and we know that. Old ones are sang in one part of the movie, and new and original ones in another. It isn't all a singing movie. Thank you. I've been trying to say that for like the past couple of years now. Famous characters appear in it. I believe that. We basically know that Harvey Dent is going to be the one prosecuting Arthur Fleck in the Gotham criminal court. Some changes to lore since these movies are standalones from certain other DC franchises. Yep, I expect that. I'm fine with that. We all know that this is an Elseworld story. So any kind of innovation there, I would be intrigued to see. So examples of that could be Harleen Quinzel might not be the therapist. Yep, surprise, surprise. From what we're hearing, rumors say that she was a patient at Arkham herself, and that's how her and Arthur bonded over old-fashioned Judy Garland-esque music. Now, theories as to how she gets out before Arthur, I've said many times before, maybe she had been in there for quite some time before Arthur joined Arkham at the end of the first movie, and so, like, you know, they coincided for a little bit of time, but then Gaga's Harleen got released, but maybe she in that time bonded with him, released, but hey, how handy is it that my girlfriend, my love, is on the outside and could maybe get me out when I go to face trial in Gotham City. So that's the kind of theory I'm working up in my head. Surrealism would be some scenes, can't specify which, but not the whole movie. Like, it was all a dream hallucination type of thing. Okay, so I've wondered if that was going to be present in this movie, and I do think it will. I think they're saying, but it's not the whole movie. That's why they're saying surrealism, like it can get surreal, and they're not going to specify it, obviously. So I think that will be portrayed through, you know, this it was very point of view, unreliable narration from Arthur in the first movie, which kind of makes it fun. Is this true? Isn't that true? The Zazie Beetz, Sophie Dumond thing wasn't true. All of that good stuff, right? But now we're going to get that in the second movie, but with the addition of Harleen, like Lee's perspective. So I think those would be the surreal scenes. But it's important to bear in mind the whole movie, that doesn't necessarily make it all of it was a dream. All of it was a hallucination, which I think's fair. Like, there will be canonical events, I'm sure, just like the Murray Franklin talk show where he dies. We know that happened because Arthur is on trial for the crimes he committed in the first movie. Yet we know that the Sophie Dumond thing was all in his head. It's things like that. So there will be canonical things, I'm sure, to this second movie. And Gaga's performance is said to be transformative and sensational. And I actually do kind of believe that. I know not everyone will agree with like what they said earlier in the review as well. Gaga is indeed equal to Phoenix or even more central. I guess what I'm trying to get to the thick of here is, to anyone shutting it down as if she can't even make a great performance in this film, I disagree with that. I've seen it since day one. If my opinion means anything with how I can see her as Harleen Quinzel in this Elseworld story, I hope that gives you some kind of reassurance, because I know a lot of people out there in my comment sections of covering Joker previously, Joker 2 that is, are just like, no. I've been a supporter since day one. I think she is tremendously talented, not only in singing, but in acting as well. And I think she will bring it as this Elseworlds version of Harleen Quinzel and this Joker story. Now, as in more central with what they said earlier as well, I think maybe that's just maybe the perspective on the story. Now, don't let that make you think that, wait, Joker, Joaquin, this isn't going to be his, I'm not interested. It's not going to be about him as much. Well, no, I think they do mean it's just maybe a bunch of the movie's point of view will shift back and forth with the fully allure of it, if you will, between Arthur and Lee. But maybe sometimes it'll feel a bit more through Lee's perspective. Maybe that's what they mean by even more central. I do think that she's going to give a messed up, like, again, like, I think Todd Phillips is going to go, all while it will deviate from canon a bit in the Elseworlds sense. And, you know, again, she might not be a therapist. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's just say, she used to be a therapist. But that doesn't mean, by the way, that, and as I like to remind people, it doesn't mean just because you're trained in that field, it doesn't mean that you can't be a patient in an asylum as well, or an Arkham State hospital, if you will. So maybe they might still give her a background in therapy, and that's how she can reference it in a line. She might be like, I used to be a therapist, you know, or something. I don't know. But I'm already tangenting. What I mean is I think Todd is going to get still in its molecular level, like what is the substance of the relationship between Harleen Quinzel and Joker. I think the essence of that will still remain true, even though this is an Elseworlds take on these characters. I hope that makes sense still, because I still disagree with people when they say, like, Joker isn't Joker at all in Todd Phillips' Joker. I just think people kind of miss the point. It's different, yes, but I think the fundamental approach of the essence of this character is still there, and it's a very relevant take. I think people always like to cite the chemical vat and the Killing Joke when they don't even realize that's not a canonical origin. It's actually, you know, one of multiple choice. In the very same comic, they do show how he was trying to be a stand-up comedian. He had, like, one bad day. He came home to a wife who ended up dying. As, again, to stress, in the Killing Joke, that is just, even though he told that story pre-falling in and getting in with the Red Hood gang and then post, that is just, you know, one way I remember it. Sometimes remember it one way, sometimes remember it another. So, like, I see Joaquin's Arthur still as such an insanely relevant take. It's just, hey, here's a literal mental health, like, type approach to the Joker's one bad day. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of a fantastical chemical vat, like a weird-ass baptism by Jokery clownery, but I also do feel in a grounded approach that, just like what Matt Reeves has kind of teased us with Barry Keoghan's Joker, like it or dislike it, the point is, this is a product of mental health again. He grew up with that congenital disease, he grew up with the world looking at him in a certain way, and that informed his interior, or should I say his exterior, as Matt Reeves says, you know, the smile and the congenital disease that was stuck informed his interior. He then became that monster. So, like, I love these visions still, and I just really fundamentally disagree when people say that they're not accurate takes. So to kind of wrap it back around on what I was talking about, Harleen not necessarily being a therapist, but a woman who's so infatuated by the Joker still, and still maintaining quite a few character traits, is still a relevant, believe it or not, idea on it, if you ask me. Because it's still about this character who gets this Stockholm-esque infatuation with this man, and who knows exactly how it's going to unfold. But don't get me wrong, if I had a choice, it'd be cool if she was the therapist in this movie, but I'm not gonna go denounce this if she wasn't. I hope you kind of see what I'm being open to there, and I hope more people go into it with a similar open mind of how it can be still such an intriguing take on these characters. But I have to say, guys, my gut feeling is telling me that I want to believe this, and I'm leaning towards believing what this outlet heard from a source, if you will. It's kind of like an exclusive-y kind of thing, I guess, because I do believe around about now they would be so far into post-production, but let me know what you think of that. I am hyped as hell for this movie, so hyped. Yes, there's singing in it, but it's not going to dominate the kind of drama and, you know, drama-y take and scene-to-scene things that we still had in the first movie. Cannot wait. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Now, the last story that I wanted to get into today, or like, it's two stories but wrapped up into one, is I want to know your thoughts on actors like this wanting to be involved kind of in James Gunn's DCU, and can you see it? So here we have, and this one's been a thing for a long while, Karen Gillan talks Sleeping Dogs and also not knowing about Star-Lord's eventual MCU return. That's the headline, but in the article they go on to say, with Gunn moving over to co-run DC Studios with producer Peter Safran, Gillan has openly stated that she'd love to play Poison Ivy for her former director, but after the decade's worth of work he already provided for her, she's not going to press him on the subject. I mean, yeah, it'd be kind of, I don't think anyone would really want to do that, but I like to leave things up to the universe a little bit and see what happens, but I would absolutely love to work with James Gunn again. He's the best. Now, I do absolutely see Karen Gillan as Poison Ivy. This rumor's been, not a rumor, but like this, it's been a fan casting for the longest time. And funnily enough, I've said this in live streams a little while ago as well. I actually do see like Barbara Gordon energy there as well. I think lots of people primarily see Ivy, but I do also like to kind of think outside the just concrete fan cast for said actor. And, you know, like another example would be Alan Ritchson. So many people see Batman, but I also see, hey, but I kind of maybe would want them to be this character as well over just locking in to that one role. So yeah, I mean, when I say Batgirl, by the way, you know, I go off the fact that we know that in the DCU, this DCU Batman is having Damian Wayne coming in, right? And that he has a Bat family to some extent set up around him as Peter Safran and James Gunn set. So what that means is we don't know the chronology of the Bat family, the Robins, which ones have maybe been skipped over. Maybe they haven't skipped over them. But if so, if you want to keep Batman young-ish, 36-ish, maybe they might condense the training a teeny tiny bit to maybe fit more in. But then again, I probably would still ultimately land on Ivy. I mean, after all, if like so many people want this DCU Batman to only at most be like 3 to 4 years older than David Corenswet, right? So let's just say 36. Well, Karen Gillan's 36, so maybe Batgirl being around the same age as like the Batman actor would be a bit like kind of strange. I'm not saying that is going to be the case for the Batman actor to be 36, but just an example there. So yeah, maybe she could be more of an opposing role to be like Ivy. Bottom line, I am confident that Karen Gillan will be in the DCU as well as many other Guardians cast members. Gunn's basically said as much as well. It's just a matter of when over the next 8 to 10 year plan. But let me know what you think of Karen Gillan joining the DCU, and if you're dead set on Ivy, or maybe think of some out-of-the-box role that you would like to see her in as well. But that's not the only one who has commented about joining the DCU. Now, talking about Batman and Ivy and everything, well, Jake Gyllenhaal says it would be an honor playing Batman in James Gunn's DCU. And he says, of course, it would be an honor, always. Those types of things and those roles are classics. Now, this surprised me when I read it. Now, again, Jake Gyllenhaal has been a fan cast for a very, 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 very long time. But I think what surprised me is that an actor of his caliber, if you will, commenting on it. I'm not saying he's one of those actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's like no comic book movies, and I'm going to tell Timothée Chalamet no comic book movies and stuff like that. But I felt like he wouldn't, not never say never, because he obviously played Mysterio, but I don't know if he'd flirt with that world too much, because I do think he is an extremely versatile actor. I mean, we all know Jake Gyllenhaal, right? He really is brilliant. And I'm not just talking like, okay, maybe you might be a big fan of Mysterio, or maybe you might be a big fan of this or that. But, you know, Denis Villeneuve's, Prisoners, that was just insane. And, you know, obviously I've loved him in many other things like Nightcrawler to other things, but Batman is a thing I've always fluctuated on. Because I still don't have my fan casting. Before anyone asks me, what's my fan casting for the DCU Batman? I don't have it locked in yet, at all. Now, Jake Gyllenhaal, it's a kind of a thing where I wouldn't rule it out. I know this sounds similar to what I've said about Alan Ritchson. I would say I feel... It's so weird because they're two different types of actors completely. I think I have more faith in Jake Gyllenhaal's, and I say this with confidence, his versatility as an actor. Like, he can go from like someone like Mysterio to, you know, whatever other role he's been in, to something like where he played that detective in Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners, where I just think he is really talented that way. But to imagine his like Batman voice, I don't know, but then again, that doesn't mean he's not capable of going into that Bruce Wayne demeanor and actually putting on that, you know, more maybe Pattinson-esque lower voice, you know, like this, rather than just going, "Ugh," like Bale did. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe they could always voice modulate it. That is something to bear in mind as well, like Snyder did. Now, the thing about Jake Gyllenhaal is I know many, let me just put it this way, could easily see him as a Batman, but is he the DCU Batman? There's something I'm swimming around the idea of. I'm still not entirely sure. Believe it or not, some people may think I'm crazy for that, as many people do about my second guessing of Alan Richardson. But, you know, I think with Jake Gyllenhaal, all while people don't want to, and I've even said maybe just don't shut this down completely, the idea of being in your 40s and playing the DC Batman, but Jake Gyllenhaal is 43. By the time the movie is filming, he could be around 46-ish. Now, for an 8 to 10 year plan, again, you shouldn't rule it out because you can be in your 40s and play an in-universe, like your character is 37. Do you know what I mean? That's the idea that as to why you shouldn't rule it out, especially with hair, makeup, film, movie magic. So maybe getting the actual actor is the most important thing. Like another fan casting in their 40s is Lee Pace, for example. And I see the possibilities in all of this. And all while Gunn has kind of given various responses saying, well, I never, you know, maybe, just maybe he'll be a couple of years older than Superman, is what he said before with regards to Batman. I don't think necessarily the Batman actor will be quite literally 33, 34, which would be a couple of years older than David Corenswet. So I do think it will be fluctuating a little bit. I still think that they're going to find somebody in their 30s to late 30s rather than their 40s to mid 40s to late 40s. I don't have any, you know, real reason to think that other than just my intuition. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal it's kind of like if there's a parallel universe out there, I believe he would have already played Batman by now, or is in one of those multiverses akin to our own. But in this one, I don't know if it will happen. But again, never say never, and let me know what you think. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I've got for you today. So let me know your thoughts on absolutely everything from Star Wars to the DCU to the frickin' fan castings to most certainly, you know, I know there's not a whopping huge, you know, audience for Joker these days, but, or Joker 2. I think that kind of stuff starts the discourse a little bit more when the trailers come out and whatnot. But let me know what you think about those rumored test screenings. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, let YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. It greatly supports my channel, gets me out there a bit more. Consider subscribing for more news roundups like this. But until next time, again, thank you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.